Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusters.pod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to the end of an era for the entirety of our podcasting time. Young Adam has been Young Adam.
Oh yeah. I was wondering where you were going with this.
Yes, I was
I
doing
thought it
a
was like
curveball.
Paul. I thought like Paul would quit or something like that.
And I was surprising you on the recording with that news. Adam, you've been in your 20s the entirety of the Film Busters lifespan, and this is your last recording as a 20-something-year-old. How does it feel?
I didn't really think of it until now, and now I'm going to start crying. It doesn't make any difference, does it?
The other day, Jenny said to me, how does Adam feel about turning 30? And I was like, boys don't ask each other questions like this. We don't. So I'm asking you now on the podcast in front of everyone. How does it feel? How do you feel about turning 30?
I just feel like maybe 30 is a bit different from turning different in your 20s, but like, I don't know, I feel like you can get away with some shit now, can't you, if you're 30? You'd be a bit grumpier, probably be a bit late, I don't know. If you've got a hangover, it's not like, oh, you're 20, you shouldn't have a hangover. You can milk the shit out of that.
Well, no. The problem with the hangovers in your 30s is you struggle. Yeah, they are actual hangovers. I wonder when your first proper hangover is going to hit you.
Do you know what? Well, last year, as soon as I turned 29, my hangovers went really, really bad.
Yeah.
And then they kind of calmed down. I think it's winter time I get really bad hangovers. I think in the summer I don't. I think you probably sweat it out in the summer as you're drinking it.
I'll tell you what the killer is. It's not so much the drinking, which is what I've found. It's not even the mixing. It's when you've had a lot to drink and then you eat shit combined with it that day.
Okay.
Like that last meal on the way home, like when I left you at the beer festival a few months ago, we ate chicken, and then when I got home, I ordered some more fucking chicken.
We didn't eat
That's
chicken.
The killer. What did we eat?
Burger.
Okay. Was it good?
It was a good burger, yeah.
Take your word for it.
Nah, I always find it's mixing. Like, that's what fucks me up.
Well, I don't mix the drinks, son.
Yeah, but you can't just drink beer all day. It gets too gassy.
Oh, you can. You can drink beer all day, all week, all month, all year, all decade, all life, all eternity.
But we'll eat good and we'll drink good.
Yeah, we'll have salads alongside all of those beers. Well, it's going to be sad to say goodbye to young Adam. I don't know if I can call you it anymore once you hit 30. We'll see.
The youngest film buster, I don't know.
Yeah. What does a buck turn into? A stud?
Does it? I thought it was just a deer, isn't it?
Hang on. What does a buck turn into?
Is a buck not a deer?
A buck is a young deer. A buck's deer's antlers fall off and are replaced with new antlers each year. So you're going to get your new antlers this weekend. No, a buck is just a male deer. Yeah, you're just a young male deer. Okay.
Well, you're an old male deer.
I'm an old male deer. Well, anyway, adios to 20-something Adam, and we'll see you on the other side. This is your last recording as a 20-something. As you will have noticed, we ain't got Paul today. His little baby is sick. Very sick.
He's had to pull out at the very last minute.
At the very last minute.
Yes.
And it's just me and Adam tackling... Well, what are we tackling today, Adam?
How do you say this film? La Singa?
The Ciénaga?
Ciénaga. Okay. Yeah, the swamp, I think is what it translated to in English.
Yeah. Now, I've got to say, before we even get into it, maybe Paul is faking this and he just absolutely did not want to talk about this fucking film.
I know. As soon as I started watching this film, I was like, oh, he didn't really like He didn't really like Neighbouring Sounds, and then this one back to back is they're pretty much identical films.
Yes, they are.
I was like, I feel sorry for picking this, Paul, but I had the brief of it has to be on streaming, otherwise we're not going to get it watched in time.
No, that's right. Hey, and we got to open and expand our horizons, and that's what we're doing. We're certainly doing it this year.
Paul is going to pick something that we both hate now. He's going to get pure revenge. He's got like
very possibly
Batman film or something like that coming in.
Very possibly. Well, anyway, Adam, this is the start of a new year. It's 2001.
Yeah, Space Odyssey.
You want some information about what happened in 2001?
I can't think of anything big that happened in 2001.
No, nothing big. We did that joke at the end of the last podcast. But I was thinking, when I was putting facts together for 2001, September 11th, is there any other date where you could say a date and a month and everyone knows what you're talking about?
I don't know. I feel like it's all Americans though, because if someone said to you like January 6th, you kind of know what they're talking about.
Maybe not, but not world over. I think
because
you say
it's fairly new still.
You say September 11th in Mongolia, and they know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's American propaganda.
My cousin's born on September 11th. Very unfortunate, isn't it?
My birthday is September 9/11, but just the English way.
The other way round.
The correct way around.
The correct way, yeah.
The way that makes actual sense to people, not going in the middle to the smallest to the biggest.
Exactly. And we say...
Get into that.
We get into it, yeah. Anyway, that was one of the big world events. Steve Jobs launched the iPod in 2001. Wikipedia launched in 2001. The Netherlands became the first country in the world to make same-sex marriage legal.
Shit, really? In 2001?
Yeah. Nuts, 21st century.
I thought it would be somewhere at least before then. I thought it would be like an early 90s thing.
But you know, the Netherlands are always ahead of the curve when it comes to sex and drugs and stuff like that. They were always going to be first. Ricky Gervais premiered The Office on UK TV. The proper Office, not the American one. The American one's good. Have you seen the American one?
I have seen the American one. I skipped the first series of the American one because it was beat for beat.
Identical.
And I was like, I can't be doing this.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it on a different level.
They have their own space.
Yeah.
They're not really the same show.
No, they're not. The UK one is very cutting and incisive and very clever, whereas the US one is just a good comedy. First Harry Potter film was released in cinemas as well. George W. Bush was re-elected as the 43rd President of the United States. That's a Republican getting in for a second term.
2001? Surely it would have been 2002, isn't it? Every 4 years.
Yes, you're correct. Why have I written that down? That I look like a fucking arsehole now. Now I look like an arsehole. Well, he must have been elected.
I'm pretty sure he did 9/11 to make himself get re-elected.
Yeah, well, there you go. And that's about it. And
do you know what I found out yesterday, talking about the iPod? Apparently podcast comes from... The pod in podcast means iPod. And it was Apple who made podcasts a thing.
I can believe it. Apple have the monopoly.
I can't remember what someone said. I heard it yesterday. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and they said why it's called podcast.
I mean, that does make sense. There's a reason that Apple... You won't know this because you don't do the promotion and such, but Apple is the main place where people...
It's a combination of the word iPod and broadcast.
Yes. Even though no one has an iPod anymore.
Well...
They have iPhones.
You've got them built into your phones now.
Yeah, it's true. I don't throw any support to Apple, though. I don't listen on Apple Podcasts. I listen on Castbox. What do you listen to your podcasts on?
Apple Podcast.
Yeah. You are a whore for Apple. Same with you don't subscribe to Spotify, do you?
Nope, I've got Apple Music.
Why don't you
just... That was purely because all of my iTunes was already there. And why would I want to lose all the music I've ever had to get a subscription service?
Well, dear friend, this is the world. Back in
the
day,
they tie you down, and that's it. It's why you can't move energy providers and you can't move banks and you don't want to move phone providers because it's just a little bit of effort.
It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of hassle. And I used to have all CDs, and then it's like, what? Why am I? There are no more CD players. It's hard. It's a ball ache to fucking find a CD player. Let me just get Spotify.
Yep. And now you get vinyls, or do you not get vinyls?
I do have vinyls. I never really get my vinyl player out.
Is it because it's not set up, or because?
Well, my vinyl. I don't know what vinyl player you've got. My vinyl player is kind of like a easy fold out one, so the sound on it is like just an inbuilt speaker. So I'm not convinced I'm getting the best sound from it, even when I use
I used
it.
to have one like that, and then I did upgrade it to something a lot better. And it is the sound depth is insanely good. Like,
yeah,
when you listen to it on that, you're like, why does anyone listen to vinyl over stuff? Because it doesn't sound any different. And then you listen to it on a proper. It's not even. It's like 150 quid. And you're like,
yeah, but no, that is proper. 150 quid.
I know, but you can go up to like thousands.
Well, this is exactly what Steve Jobs didn't want. He wanted to compress and condense everything onto a tiny little box. And
yeah, it gave us too much convenience. You can't take your vinyl player in your pocket, and you don't have to change it over every 3 or 4 songs.
No. I miss having
the interaction.
Tapes. I used to have tapes, a few tapes, which was nice because they had all the lyrics of all the albums inside. You would unfurl it all. I guess they do that with vinyls now. Yes. All the lyrics are inside.
They've got a lot of paper to fill on a vinyl. There's a lot of space in there to fill up.
That's what they're charging you for.
Yes. Anyway,
that was 2001, Adam.
Yes, a Filmbuster's Odyssey.
Yeah. What's the next section?
Don't they find the bone and we all jump around it?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Do you know what? Let me, as an aside, watch 2001 Space Odyssey for the first time a couple of months ago. Highly underwhelming experience.
I need to rewatch it. I've only watched it once, and that was in cinema ages ago. And I feel there is so much of it that is groundbreaking, and it is actually incredible. But I'm like, how incredible is it now? Like, there's bits of it I obviously remember, like some of it sticks with you so vividly. But then, yeah, I need to rewatch it. I think it's been about a good 8 years since I watched it.
Its influence is big, but like it's so slow. I can't remember just how slow it was until I started watching it with Jenny, and it's like, fuck.
Have you watched that before?
It's taken forever. Yeah. And it was Blu-ray as well. Anyway,
the only thing is that you got to think is like this was like what before the moon landing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I mean I got to say, it makes me think even more so that Kubrick definitely shot that moon footage, man. Definitely. If he was able to film that,
do conspiracy theories, man. Because
yeah, listen, if you don't want to wait and find out what we thought about La Ciénaga, the fact that we're spending so much time front loading this episode with this talk might indicate where we stand on this.
Why was that water so green?
Yeah, exactly. The pollutant was in the water. But we must, Adam, push on and get to the topic of the episode. But before we do that,
we've got a quiz.
And
everyone's going to be like, how's it going to be working? Oh no, there's only 2 of you. How will the quiz possibly work?
Let them know.
Well, Paul, being the most prepared man of all time, and you can see who is the backbone of this podcast and keeps it all going and flowing, he has sent us each one of his quiz questions to read to the other person.
Wow.
So I don't think Paul will get any points here, will he?
So I believe you ask me, and then I will ask you. If neither of us get the question, Paul gets the points. That's how it will work.
Okay.
So it's only possible for me or you to score 1 point here. But
so
Paul
he's actually done really well here.
He has. This is all a fix.
You rat.
This is all a fix. He's an African rat. And listeners, that is not an insult that I'm saying there. That's the thing in the film that we're covering today. That's why I said that.
Well, it's still very out of context.
I know. Well, you said rat, and it just made me think of that. Listeners, come on. You got to watch the film to get it.
Anyway, shall I read out my question that Paul has sent? Shall I go first?
Yes.
Keep this moving.
Keep it moving.
What did they call the local doctor who treated them a couple of times?
Oh, I know this. This is one of the few things I do know about the film. Gringo.
Dr. Gringo.
I think that's allowed. Yeah. Gringo, because it means white man, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whitey out there. Very good. Wow. I didn't think I'd get anything in this because I thought, what the fuck can you ask about this?
I don't know what the fuck he's going to ask.
Here's yours. Hope you're paying attention, Adam. What food item are in the opening shot of the film? They also mention this food item many times throughout the film.
The thing is now, like in Argentina, I'm like, is it some type of barbecue item? Because I think they like their barbecues, but that's just me getting confused.
It might be something you'd have on the side. I'm helping you here, but that's a
sweet corn.
No, it was red peppers. Remember, she's talking all about the red peppers throughout this fucking film for some reason.
Do you want to see the red? Did I show you the red peppers I did for Halloween?
Yes, you carved them out, didn't you? Very nice.
Yeah, I made them into little pumpkins and stuffed them.
Good. You did very well.
Anyway.
What did you stuff them with?
I made a ragu the night before, and we used, instead of having a pasta, we just put the ragu into the peppers.
Look at
a
you.
A little bit of burrata on the top, and then...
Sounds fucking delicious.
Anyway, that was the quiz.
That was the quiz, and that means that points for Adam... no points for Adam. Yep. A point for Paul and a point for Adam, so that means our scores...
A point for you, a point for Paul, and nothing for me.
Yes, sorry. This is what happens when Paul isn't here to keep track of the scores. So that means 18 points for me, 17 points for Paul, and 12 points for Adam.
I was close at one point, and now it's all just fallen to shit again.
I know. You could have got that red pepper one. Anyway, let's move on and talk about...
Red Pepper is the only person I remember. What's the film Red Pepper? Is it Green Mile Red Pepper's in? The actor? Is there an actor? I don't know.
I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. Barry Pepper.
Red Pepper. Barry Pepper.
Red Pepper, yeah. Paul's favourite actor, Red Pepper.
Red Pepper. What is like...
There is no Red Pepper.
There's surely got to be someone, like an artist called Red Pepper.
There's...
That's such a cool name to have.
There's Black Pepper, who's a drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race last season, who I very much enjoyed.
I'm not going to get that. But if you were like a blues singer back in the day and they went, oh, we'll go up to the stage, Red Pepper now. And you did like
Red Hot Chili Peppers is what you're thinking of.
No, not the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was saying like someone who's in doing the blues with a harmonica in a big sweaty bar and they're called Red Pepper. That would be like, they'd be quite cool.
I mean, Red Pepper sounds like a porn star's name.
True. Actually,
and a male porn star at that. Yeah. And he gets his red pepper out.
With Red Johnson.
Yes. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Going very crass.
Let's talk about La Ciénaga.
I think Lucrezia is a very literary writer in the best possible sense. For La Ciénaga, she wrote this 200-page script, which I think they filmed half of it. They were never able to finish it. But in the script itself, there were so many descriptions and so much concentration on mood and climate and relationship between the characters, that then when she went to actually shoot this script, she could basically just throw it in the bin, and she had already created a world which she could then inhabit. This kind of sprawling family and sprawling house, I think, gives the impression that this world that we are witnessing, this world of La Ciénaga, the swamp, actually it doesn't ever end. And I think this is something that maybe she learned from literature, where there's always the detail speaks of a wider thing, and you never think of the scenes in La Ciénaga as scenes. I think you see them as like fragments of something. And I think this also has to do with her filmmaking skills, her intelligence in cutting. It's like she creates these scenes which seem almost like from a home movie, almost documentary, and then she cuts before you expect the scene to end, and you're into something else. And so again, it's the feeling of a whole complex world that you've been sort of thrown into and are somehow privy to.
All right, so here we are, beginning of 2001. Adam was the first person to pick a film for us, and he's kicked us off with the Argentine film La Ciénaga. Adam, what's La Ciénaga about?
It's about a house. I don't know whether these guys were on holiday or something like that. Trying to work that bit out. And it's about, I'm going to say, two families hanging out at this house, like an Airbnb, and they're just hanging out, and shit happens.
I mean, that's probably a very accurate description of the plot, even though it was your typical lazy one. That's true. That's what happened in the film.
Yeah.
Do you want some very limited backstory information about it that I've been able to find? So it's the feature film debut by Lucretia Martel. She wrote it and directed it, and supposedly it's semi-autobiographical. In 2002, this film was selected as the greatest film of Argentine cinema of all time. And it was presented at the Mar de la Plata International Film Festival as such. It's also been included in many Spanish and Latin American top 20 lists of all time. So the Latin Americans love this film, Adam. Lucretia Martel's screenplay for the film won an award in 1999 before the film was made, and the jury, after giving the award, suggested that she rewrite the script so that the story focused on one or two of the characters, but Lucretia Martel completely ignored them and chose to focus on all of them. And she has said in interviews that the story is based on memories of her own family. And she also said, "I know what kind of film I've made, not a very easy one. For me, it's not a realistic film. It's something strange. It's a little weird. It's the kind of film where you can't tell what's going to happen, and I wanted the audience to be very uncomfortable from the beginning." So, with that in mind, and I'm assuming we've had no actors from the past, with that in mind, Adam, who's going first?
I went first last time, so you're going to go first this time.
Okay. I was very uncomfortable from the very beginning because that opening scene was quite kind of weird and striking. That scene where she pours like that glass of red and drops the ice in it, and they're dragging their chairs around the pool, and then she falls over and bleeds, and like all the other like middle-aged people are just like lying there ignoring her, and the kids are behaving weirdly in the villa. I was like, oh shit, this film is going to be fucking weird. But then after that, everything was so mundane. Like nothing mattered. Mm-hmm. And that was the hard thing about the film. Everything they were doing and talking about had no repercussions and didn't mean nothing. Not like Neighbouring Sounds.
Yep.
But here, like Neighbouring Sounds had a sort of theme and a feel. Here it was just like I didn't know who any of these characters were. They kept saying people's names. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is. They kept showing us different characters. I'm like, you look exactly like that other woman I've seen, or that other girl that I've seen. I don't know who is who. And then when it got to the end, the ending was so underwhelming. It's like, what, we're just ending here now? Fucking nothing happened. I tell you what it reminded me a lot of. Dogtooth, which I think we've spoken about. We haven't done an episode on it, but it reminded me a lot of that and a lot of Neighbouring Sounds. But the only way to make this interesting is for me and you to talk about it and try and find something that was in there to grip onto. So what did you get from it?
Again, opening, it was like, okay, what is this film? It's like, I was like, Neighbouring Sounds should be this kind of sounds. It was like the sound at the beginning of that film. I don't know if it's because we come fresh off one film talking about sound. It was like those chairs dragging around. Everything was just the thunder. Like there was constant of the threat of thunder throughout this film. It didn't really rain that much. Like it did rain, but like the threat of thunder was always there. And again, it was like the sounds. You heard the dogs. You just had everything going on. The kids running around, like the fans on, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of starts with that, but then it just kind of drops into a nothingness. And I don't know if it's just because we've just watched Neighbouring Sounds, and it is kind of similar in that way of like, they're not really giving you answers. You have to kind of search for these answers. You're expecting, you're like, what's going to happen next? What's happening here? Yeah. I don't know if we've just done one of those films, so maybe it was a bit too close together. But I think the difference between this one and Neighbouring Sounds is Neighbouring Sounds, when I finished watching it, I thought about it afterwards. And I thought, well, what does that mean? What does this mean? And on this film, I don't think there's left really anything for you to try and dissect, and it sticks with you after this film. I mean, you've got the fall at the beginning, and I was thinking, okay, it's like the kid's going to be running this place, then all the adults are just too drunk, they're too sleazy, and like, not sleazy, like, they just don't give a shit. They're on holiday, the kids are running around having fun, something bad's going to happen. But, it obviously, I'm not getting into spoilers yet, but it kind of does. But again, in
I
a
don't
way,
think you can spoil this film.
in a way that it's like, oh, no one even cares there. And I guess I don't know if that is meant to be the meaning of the film, that no one cares at the end. So you're like, oh, did I see what I see? If no one else has seen it, it's like, did a tree fall in the woods? And all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it was just a bit too close. And I would say to Paul, I know you didn't like Neighbourhood Sounds, so I know you're definitely going to hate this. I'm so sorry for putting you through two films very close together that I know you'll hate.
Yeah, but you know Paul. Paul might end up fucking really liking this one.
No, I don't think he will. Do you know what felt weird, though? At the beginning of this film, it reminded me of that French film we did. Oh, they ate. All they did was eat. I can't remember what it was called now.
Oh, Le Grand Boeuf.
Yeah, it kind of had a weird feel of that at the beginning. Because it was just the vulgarness of humans at the beginning, and also like the people just sleeping around, like the chaos of the house, the like not even the dirtiness of it, but like there was just people everywhere. People were just asleep, people drunk, people not giving a shit what the other person was doing. Yeah, and it kind of had that weird kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say grotty or dirty, but that kind of.
I think you're right. It is kind of that Grand Boeuf mentality, like where that was about like French indulgence at that time. We talked about it in the episode. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like at that time there was a lot of consumerism happening in France or something like that. Whereas this is 2001 Argentina. There's probably a commentary here which is about the middle class, you know, exploiting their own people, because they keep talking down to like the lower class and letting the lower class sort of live with them and be amongst them. It's a very similar film to Neighboring Sounds. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just Brazil and Argentina doing it. It's almost like.
But you know what? It's kind of good that you did pick this right after that. I mean, what are the fucking chances that you would pick two films that are so unknown but are so fucking similar? It's kind of good you did, because it's easier to make the comparison. And you're right. It's like this. All of the stuff in this Neighbouring Sounds seemed to do much better. However, you are right. The sound in this was very prominent all the way through, and that would have worked well in Neighbouring Sounds. A bit more of that in Neighbouring Sounds would have worked quite well.
The sound in this was kind of the opposite, where it was like it just dominated. When it happened, you couldn't hear what people were saying. It just dominated everything.
Yeah, loads of times.
And whereas Neighbouring Sounds was very, I mean, I guess what it is, like when you're in your house, you hear stuff, but it doesn't dominate your. I mean, the only time I get it is when a plane goes low. Yeah. And you have to stop the TV for a second because I can't hear shit. But yeah, that was kind of like your background sound, where this is kind of like everything's in the forefront. But,
but like, and also like Neighbouring Sounds, it's another one of those things where it feels like something bad is always about to happen. Yeah. But it never really does. Like right off the beginning, it does. Obviously,
the only thing I thought that was weird throughout this film, and again, it's when what's his name?
The only thing, fucking hell.
Well, the pot that was okay. This is where this film is going to. This is what it is now. It's when the younger guy turned up. Can't remember his name now.
Yes.
Was it Juan or something like
that? Mate, all of the characters. I didn't know who the
one
fuck
who
was
turned up. Anyway, and then I don't know if they're meant to be cousins or they're meant to be family.
They are meant to be cousins. Yeah. Okay.
There was a very weird sexual tension between him and one of the girls.
Oh, mate.
That's where I was like, okay, is this what's going to happen now? Is this film going to go? Because you have one of the cousins disappearing and running off with a guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if something bad was going to happen to her. Yeah, the two boys shooting stuff who was blind in one eye. It's like something bad going to happen to her. And then you had him and her. And you're like, is something going to happen between you two here?
So we got a bunch of things like that are happening in the film that aren't right, that we never actually see end up happening. So you got it. The two cousins, where it seems there's definite weird fucking sexual tension between them. Like when she's showering naked and then he comes in with his muddy leg. Fucking weird scene. Just sticks his whole trainer in, covered in mud, and lets it just wash off him onto her. But it's like this uncomfortable, weird sexual energy between cousins, which is bad. Plus the fact that you've got these kids running around in the woods with guns, but you never see them shoot them. The fact that you hear this dog constantly barking and you think there's going to be a dog attack and it never happens. All of this stuff is constantly happening in the film. You're hearing about these things. Most of the time sounds, you see these things and you think, shit, something bad's going to happen, and it never does. And I think that is the title of the film, which is The Swamp, the English title, The Swamp. It's just like, this is so fucking disgusting and messy and horrible, but that's all it is. It's just a horrible fucking environment, because these people have gone to, I think you're right, it is like an Airbnb, but it's not an Airbnb, it's just like some holiday home, right?
Yeah.
They've rented it out and they're like, we're just going to be here and do whatever the fuck we want to do.
We don't care what the state of this place is, we're just literally,
we're just going to come here with our bloated bellies and drink our wine and
the kids can
fall
do it,
arse backwards over.
Like when the girl jumps in the swamp at the beginning of the film, in the actual swamp itself, not the metaphorical swamp of the villa, and you're like, oh, is she dead now? Is she going to get like some type of tetanus or something?
Yeah. And that shot, mate, is 100% the opening shot of the film. You know, the cow is stuck in the bog, up in the woods. That's it, isn't it? These humans are stuck in the bog, the horrible environment that they're in, and they're too swollen to do anything about it. I got to say, I didn't like seeing the animals like that, man. They were real.
I know, it was one of those films where I'm like, please do, like, you're not only going to shoot it, like, okay, they didn't shoot it on screen. I'm like, okay, good, that's one thing. And then you see it again afterwards dead, and you're like, it's that whole like Cinema Paradiso one where it's like, you just know that they didn't have the money for it, so they just did it.
What happened in Cinema Paradiso?
When they kill the cow in Cinema Paradiso.
When did they do that?
He's filming it. He films the murder of the cow happening. I think it might be in the director's cut. I don't know.
No. Oh, mate, yeah. Dearie me. I didn't like to see it.
Yeah.
But they were, that cow was the people. All of these people were just hideous, terrible people. Overall, I had a hard time following the film because none of the characters were doing anything significant enough for me to care about anything they were doing. And again, did you enjoy this?
I think I probably, when I was watching it, again, I don't want to say, if I watched this and then watched Neighbouring Sounds, I might have had something different from it, but because I've just watched that one, I'm like, do you know when it's like that? And it's also, this is maybe, I don't want to sound like an ignorant, but like when you foreign films, it's like when a foreign film is not interesting, it's then really hard to stay engaged with it, because you've got to read it, you've got to stick with it like so hard. Like, you can't like
can't look away.
You can't even just look around the screen. You can't be just okay, the dialogue's not working for me. Let's just look around at what background people are, because you've got to read. And it's almost like when you're reading, you can't take in everything that's happening on the screen.
Yes.
So
you are 100% right.
Your energy falls off. That's when it's quite difficult to. But the reason I bought this is because like everyone who's seen it on Letterboxd has loved it. Like again, like you said earlier, they regard it as one of the best Argentinian films ever. Like, and I'm like, there's got to be something in it, and I would be quite interested to listen to somebody who does love it.
From what I've seen online, the reason the big praise for it from like critics seems to be like they're saying, oh, she's like a poet with her storytelling, because it feels very real, but it's also completely unreal. Like, and it is true, people say things and are ignored. People say they're going to do something, like The Maid. Like I saw a comment that was like, the maid is fired early in the film, but then she stays at the house the whole time. People say things and repeat things and say they're going to do something, and then nothing. It doesn't actually happen. Like nothing has a repercussion. True. Nothing happens, and then there is a result of the action. It's like multiple paintings overlapping the whole time, and it's like, well, that's fine if you're after that. That's a little too arty even for me, baby. I like a little bit of arty.
It kind of reminds me a bit of that Roma kind of stuff. Like,
oh, perfect example. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Roma was better than this.
Really, I think this is. I don't know. I really didn't like Roma. Roma really annoyed me. No, I don't know if the thing with Roma was because everyone was banging on about it at the time. Like, this is one of the greatest films ever. Yeah. And you watch it, you're like, what the fuck?
Roma at least looked pretty. This did not look pretty. This film is not
meant to look pretty, though.
No, I know.
This film is meant to be dirty. It's meant to be...
Here's something that if Paul was here, he would love to talk about. Let's see what your thought is. There's a point early in the film, I can't remember what it is. They're telling a story about what was it? All the cats had been eaten, and they say the dog did it. She's telling a story. We don't see it. She says there was a family, had a bunch of cats. Overnight, the cats disappeared, and then the dog was there, and they were sure the dog had eaten them. Mm-hmm. So they went to, I can't remember, the vet or something like that, and the vet took an axe and chopped the dog's head off, or chopped it in half, and then they looked inside the dog, and there was extra rows of teeth inside the dog. So they tell that story, which is uncomfortable anyway. And then, within about 5 or 10 minutes, the mum, or one of the mums, because there were two mums, I don't know who was related to fucking who, one of the mums is talking about their little boy and said, I have to take him to the doctor. He has extra teeth growing in his mouth. Now, what's that supposed to be? Because, and sorry, that's the other thing. Sorry, the end of that story, when they say they chopped the dog in half and saw the extra rows of teeth, the vet or the doctor then said, this isn't a dog, this is an African rat. That's a throwback to that comment I made at the beginning of the episode.
So the dog ate the rat. It didn't eat the cat.
Well,
or
no,
I think the dog is the rat.
I think they're saying the dog, they thought it was a dog, but it was an African rat. It was this horrible, terrible thing.
There's quite an underlying tone of racism in this film as well from them towards other people. And I don't know if that's meant to be that. Also, like, I don't know if it's like, or it's just figure of speech.
No, it was. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They kept calling...
The Indians, wasn't it?
They kept saying stupid Indians.
Yeah.
And like there was that scene where the little boys were running with the guns and they say, mate, that was horrible.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. Let me come to that in a second. But what do you think about the fact that that kid has got extra teeth growing in his mouth? Surely that's connected to that story in some way.
I don't really think of that. I just think, he's got extra teeth growing. But now you said that, I think this is a film. It's like it is there, but it's just like I feel harsh, but I don't think the film warranted me looking into the depth like Neighbouring Sounds did in this. Like, the difference between this and Neighbouring Sounds is Neighbouring Sounds left me with something to think about, and
yes,
I will remember scenes that happened in Neighbouring Sounds probably for a while.
Yeah.
But
the Neighbouring Sounds has a lot of stuff going on. This one is, you can boil it all down to, it's autobiographical, so she's just reflecting on childhood memories for one thing, which is maybe interesting for her, but not interesting for us. And then because she's like, I want everything to be uncomfortable, nothing actually connects or links up, but not in an interesting way. It's not.
I guess that's just life, though. It's like, is life just like that sometimes? I don't know. Is it almost too realistic that it doesn't work? And some people love it because it's so realistic.
But it's realistic with this weird fucking twist where everything that's going on is weird. Like, we're constantly seeing this TV footage about the Virgin Mary appearing to people.
Yeah.
And none of that links to anything. And then they end the film on that line with the two girls come around on the sunbed.
We've gone off to see the Virgin Mary or whatever it was.
And it's like, why? Why is that the last thing that we're seeing in the film? What's the relevance?
I don't know if that was euphemism when she'd gone off and slept with that man. Like...
Oh, yeah. You're correct. I mean, that was absolutely her cousin. But not only
that wasn't the one who kept running off with the guy in the bushes. They go to the bar and all that kind of stuff. The guy who kept coming to the house.
I thought they were the same guy. Honestly, it was so hard to keep track.
There was two different ones.
So there was that guy, but then there was the guy who was out of town sleeping with what's the main woman, the woman who falls over. Her name is Mecha, right?
Yeah.
So she falls over and gets all cut up and scarred.
I kept thinking it was like Mocko without just an
Now, out of town, her sister, who I believe is called Mercedes, right, is with this young man.
Yes.
And this young man happens to be her nephew.
Yes.
And then he comes back to the house with Mecha. He's lying in bed with Mecha, who I assume is his mum.
Yeah, kind of, where they were kind of affectionate towards each other was kind of...
It was that, but it was fucking weird. But also, isn't this that same guy as the guy who then was fucking around with his cousin?
Yeah.
So this one character is having this sexual tension with his aunt, his mum, and his sister, but none of it is ever overt. Nothing happens.
Yeah, is it just the biggest flirt in the world, or...
Mate, there's being a flirt and then there's fucking incest. Come on.
Yeah. But it was almost like a weird dominance thing from him, especially in the shower scene. It was like him being a dick rather than, I don't know. It was like him pushing boundaries. He wanted to push that boundary.
He was the African rat, mate. There was a lot of ratty, horrible, nasty people in this film, and I don't really understand what was going on. Here's the most uncomfortable scene. When them two boys, after they've been hunting and they've encountered what they call as the stupid Indians.
Oh, yeah.
They've got their dog. The one boy is like lifting his dog's tail up.
And you can see that dog does not like it.
No.
You're like, that dog is going to fuck you up in a second. Like.
Yeah, man. The kid is pulling that dog's tail for real. Yeah. He's lifting his hind legs off the floor. That ain't right.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, it's been fucked. It's like, it's been fucked, leave it alone.
Yeah, and like, why are you showing us this? What is?
But again, it has no thing into it. It was just, again, them two lads just being racist, because they did the same thing with the fish as well. They just throw that fish on the floor.
Yeah. And
it's just like their disregard for other people's cultures. I don't know if that's like snobbery or like if it is meant to show them looking down, but.
There's like class systems everywhere, because like the Indians that they're talking about they're not Indian. They're like other people in Argentina, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're just
working class
people. I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the class systems of Argentina on this one.
But it's 100% that. But it's like, okay, fine. Everywhere can tell that story. If you're like, oh yeah, it's about class structure. It's like, fine, okay, but make it interesting.
But I think Neighbouring Sounds did that slightly better in the last one.
Yeah, 100%.
Does it make you look more fondly on Neighbouring Sounds now, this film?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'll be honest with you, like you said, after it, even though we recorded that episode, I'm still thinking a little bit about Neighbouring Sounds.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about... I could imagine rewatching Neighbouring Sounds in a year or two and going, let me see what I get from it this time.
Yeah, there is something in that film still. I do.
There is. There's 100% something.
I saw a review the other day of Neighbouring Sounds. I can't remember. I think I was looking back at it, and the review was, did you use fabric softener?
Did you? Very good. That joke only makes sense to anyone who's seen the film. Very good. Is that a letter? That's a one sentence letterbox review, isn't it?
He did do a massive review after it, but that was like the beginning bit. I think that's his funny bit, and then he does proper reviews after.
That's very good. Adam, do you think, rather than leave it right to the end, shall we play Paul's comments now, because he may say something that we haven't spoke about
it? Should we just talk about the whole film as like? Okay, should we just finish off this film from our point of view then quickly? I'm just going to talk about the very ending of the film.
Yeah, go on.
Obviously with the kid. This is massive spoilers now, everybody. With the ladder and the kid.
Yeah.
See that again? That's like, so the whole threat of that kid was so fascinated with that dog and what's on the other side. It's like curiosity literally almost killed the cat. If it's like him worried about the dog coming through the wall. But again, it's just that I think it's like they just don't care. I think they just generally don't care where the kids are. And it's like, you didn't even hear a scream at the film. That's what I was expecting. Like when those two girls were in the thing, you just hear a mum scream in the background, and then that was the end of the film. Yeah, but it's just kind of like.
Well, that's it. If you were to summarise this film, if you'd be like, what do you think the filmmaker is trying to say? It is that these well-to-do, not even well-to-do, they're just middle. They're you and me. They're our class level. Have gone on holiday as a family and they've got drunk and they're like, we don't give a shit about anything. We can't be bothered. Yeah. Like, there is a literal fucking plot point in this film, which is, do we go into Bolivia to go shopping for school clothes, and then a big reveal at the end of the film is, oh, the dad's already been and the school clothes are in the boot of the car. Yeah. It's like, how is this fucking interesting? But I guess that's the point.
Weird.
It's just middle class problems.
Why did no one tell me?
I know, but then they try and make a plot point out of that. Like, I'm watching 5 minutes of film to get us to that point.
Even the kids are like, what the hell are you on about, mum? Like, you're insane. Like, how drunk
But that's
have you
it.
been?
It's mundane lives, right? It's these rich people, or not even rich, these wealthy enough people who don't have to really give a fuck about anything. They don't commit to anything. They don't even commit to going to a trip to Bolivia. They're falling over. They're getting cut up. They're fucking each other in the family. They can't decide whether they're going to Bolivia or not. The sun's falling off the fucking ladder and we don't really care because we're on holiday and we hate everyone who ain't us.
And if they probably walk past that kid, they just walk over him and go, oh, you're sleeping. Funny.
Yeah. As if anything, that kid, like you say, he was fascinated by the idea of this dog barking outside of the perimeter, and he kept calling it an African rat. He kept saying earlier in the film, he was like, the African rat's going to come in and get me, and the little girls were taunting him about it. But ironically, that isn't what got him. Well, it did, yeah, but his obsession with it is what got him. So maybe it's saying something like, the things you think are going to hurt you won't hurt you, but if you become fixated on them, they will in another way.
Yes.
But that's giving it a lot of credit. I would have liked to have seen that kid fall and actually hit his head and splatter or something, but we didn't get to see even.
And the dog licks it up.
Yeah.
We're getting weird now.
Then the subtitle comes up, Serbian Film 2. Let's see what Paul said in case he says something that we would like to talk about.
Hello, my beautiful friends, and hello, our wonderful listeners. So I guess you want my first impressions of this film, and I got absolutely nothing out of this film in the slightest. I don't care about the characters. I don't understand their motives, and I don't actually care to know, because they're all just stuck up racists, in my opinion. It's just another slice of life film that I couldn't really tell you for sure what it was trying to portray. And once again, I don't care anyway. It's well shot though, I guess. And the opening, it promised for something pretty special. It was like some weird zombie kind of movie, the way they were dragging those chairs about with the clink of the glasses. But it's boring. I even feel like I'm going to find it like hard to talk about if it was actually in the episode, but I hope you got some wonderful conversation out of it, and I'm very excited to listen to your thoughts, because for me it was so hard to find an in on this film. But you know, we love a challenge on Film Busters, don't we? It's a 4 out of 10. I could not care to ever watch this film again, and that's my first impressions. Love you.
I think it is right. There is a hard to find it in. Every time you think you found a way into the film, it doesn't. It shuts that door on you. You're like, okay, what we got?
Yeah.
Next? What we got
and
next?
Like this kind of stuff, absolutely, like you said, this is not Paul's bag. Like these sort of like slightly slow observational films where it feels like not a lot is happening, but in this case, really not a lot is happening. And the thing is, they do have this weird shit going on all the way through, but even that is not interesting enough to elevate it.
Yeah, I don't know where he got the zombie part from. I don't think there was zombies going on in this.
Yeah, it is weird open shot, the way they're slowly dragging them chairs and all the other people are just standing there. They're just standing frozen in position, even when she falls over. I think the chair dragging is because it's meant to just show how little they give a fuck about anything. They can't be bothered to lift up a chair and place it somewhere. They're so lazy, they're so bored, they're so dissatisfied with everything. They're just going through life in this daze, this stupor, and they're just dragging it. At the beginning, you may think it's because of the alcohol that she's drinking, but then the kids at the end aren't drunk, and they're doing it as well. The sins of the parents will be bestowed onto the kids, kind of thing. Listeners, let me tell you this. Let me give you an example. If you go onto Wikipedia, you can do this in your own time, and have a look at the plot synopsis for this film. Because before we recorded, I was like, let me just see if I missed something. I didn't. And this tells you how matter-of-fact the film is. Here is a section of the plot description on Wikipedia which just states facts about the film. And this is the film. Tali returns home to their apartment with her children. There she cancels their trip to Bolivia as her husband has purchased the school supplies without her knowledge. Shortly after, Isabel tells Mecca that she plans to leave to be with her sisters. Upset she was not informed sooner, Mecca calls her selfish and ungrateful. This upsets Isabel, who packs her belongings and she leaves. In Buenos Aires, Jose is with Mercedes. Luciano climbs a ladder to look at the neighbour's dog but falls and is left unattended. Mummy returns to the estate and Veronica asks her where she has been. Mummy says she went where the Virgin Mary has been appearing but didn't see anything. The film ends.
So that makes it sound like the film's set across 2 places.
Yeah, well, it is, but we most see everything around the house.
I always thought that was even when the kid falls, that's in one place.
No, that's that same place.
That's what I mean.
Villa.
It's the villa. So I thought, and it sounded like the guy's gone back to. I thought you'd see him go back to Buenos Aires.
That guy who goes back to Buenos Aires, that guy is the guy who is, because you know Mercedes, who keeps calling his aunt. That's the one that he's got this incestuous relationship outside of town. Mercedes is there. And also there's a whole fucking plot point about she wants him to come back to Buenos Aires. He says he can't, so she says she's coming there.
And then she says she doesn't come there. And
then she says, I'm not coming there. And it's like, why? Are we wasting... Why? Why are we doing this, man? I don't know. There is something in that dog stuff, though. There's definitely something in that dog stuff, but I don't know. I'm just not interested enough to it. Let's see if I can get something from it here. It says here, in the New York Times, the review says, the steamy ambience in which the characters fester is a metaphor for creeping social decay. La Ciénaga perspires from the screen. It creates a vision of social malaise that feels paradoxically familiar and new. Stop talking like that, man. I know.
The thing
is,
I will give it
stop
is
like
the one thing I will give this film is the setting of the film and the metaphor of the swamp. That is very well done. Like the actual premise, everything is in it. That is well done, and
yes,
there's a lot of props like for mood, sound, all of that kind of stuff. But it's just the plot that lets it down. I think even the acting is fairly well done. Like no one in this film is a bad act. Like
no,
it's
it
is hard to engage on a plot point.
And the thing that's hard to engage with is that not a single character do you feel connected to.
Yeah.
Because none of them are really good or bad. They're just a bunch of people.
And that's where Paul probably hates it, because he has to connect to at least one character, else he doesn't get involved in the films.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know. We ain't got nothing more to say about this.
No.
But that was La Ciénaga. Love it or hate it. Go on then, Adam. What's the scores? Oh, no, it's me first, isn't it? I'm with Paul. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 as well. Okay. At times I thought, shall I go lower? But the thing is, I think if I were to go lower, I'd be saying it's like a completely repugnant film, nothing in it. But like, I didn't hate it. It was just incredibly dull. And considering it has some weird shit going on in it, the fact that it was still so dull is damning. So it's a 4.
Okay. I'm going to give one more. I'm going for a 5. I just feel like I said it does have some little bits in it that were slightly like technical side of it. I just think the plot is what lets it down. But overall, again, I probably will not remember this film, and I'll probably forget about it, and I have not a lot of interest in going back to it. In
several years, when we're placing another film, we'll be like, better or worse than Ciénaga, and we'll be like, I can't even remember that film.
Or you'll be like, I thought, remember that being okay.
Yeah, I thought that was good. That was something with the African rat.
Why are we getting it so low down?
Well, look, Adam, the average score for that is 4.3.
Wow.
So it's definitely going into our bottom 20.
For a film that's like really kind of not well rated, but like it has, what's it, Letterboxd score? It's like it's in the 4s, isn't it?
I mean, I've had it on my watch list for a long time because of how it placed. So
3.9 is what it's got on Letterboxd.
Yeah. Has anyone that we know watched it? No.
I feel this is the type of film that Julio just loves. Like, he just gets involved in, like...
I don't know. So even the thing, that the banner image, when you go on La Ciénaga, the banner image, not the poster, the banner image, well, even the poster, make it look kind of like interesting, like something's going to really happen around.
Do you know
who
that guy looks like? I can't remember. What's the guy from Big Lebowski? What's his name?
Oh, yeah, John Goodman. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He looks like an Argentinian John Goodman.
Anyway... 4.3, Adam, so we got to place it. We haven't got Paul with us, so we'll have to do best guess for something. So the first film it's going to battle with is The Firm. The Firm is better.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I don't think The Firm was great, but...
No, you gave The Firm a 3, mate.
Did I?
Yeah. And Paul gave The Firm a 5, so The Firm is going to be better. So that's it.
Okay.
So that's it. So that means... Adam, Paul, and listeners, that La Ciénaga goes into not just our bottom 20, but our bottom 10 of all time. It is the new number 9 from the bottom spot, number 8 from the bottom spot, pushing The Firm up to number 9 and Tomb Raider up to number 10. Once upon a time, I swear Tomb Raider was the worst film we've done, and now it's moved up 10 spots. Tomb Raider's going to be out of top 20 in a few years.
It might be number 1.
Yeah, so that is bottom of the 4.3s, folks. The only films that we've watched that we believe are worse are Hard Ticket to Hawaii, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Passion, The Jesus Rolls, Cats, American Psycho 2, and Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. We are having a bad year because The Firm and Passion and La Ciénaga and Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park have all been watched in the last 6 fucking months.
I feel like we're going more and more out there with our picks as well, though.
Yes. Well, there we go, folks. That's the end of
I swear
most
of those films as well I've kind of brought to the table.
You have brought 2 of them to the table. Did you bring The Firm? 2 from you
Paul
and 2
from
Paul. Yeah. You and Paul like to bring the lower end of things.
Crass people.
Yeah, you crass individuals. Can't be trusted. Well, that was it, folks. But don't worry, we're going to be sticking around in 2001 for a fair old while. Julio will be joining us at some point because he's the man who selected this year for us. We won't tell you what film, but he'll be with us very soon. But before we get to that point, we need to find out what we're covering on the next episode of Film Busters. And it's Paul's pick. Adam, you ready to find out what Paul wants us to watch? Here we go.
So here it is. My pick of 2001, and we're doing a French film. We're doing a Frenchie this next episode, and we're going for a Vincent Cassel film, Brotherhood of the Wolf. I know you've seen it, Ben. I've always been interested, so yeah, I'm excited for it. Brotherhood of the Wolf. Let's do it.
Oh, baby.
Never heard of it.
Oh, mate. Adam, I don't think you're around for this record because you're about to go on holiday, but baby, fuck me. Adam, you got to watch it.
Is it something, this film?
I'm not going to speak too much about it, but there are things in this film that are very much worth talking about.
I've seen your score and I've seen Julio's score.
Well, I'll tell you what, off the top of my head right now, I don't even know what score I have on Letterboxd, but it can be disregarded because I need to rewatch it. It's been a long time, but Vincent Cassel, of course, is a joy, and I think it's yeah. I mean, it is fucking interesting. It's been a long, long time. There's one or two things from this film that carry over into that. I'll tell you that much. That's very exciting. I look forward to that. Brotherhood of the Wolf, folks. You can find it on UK listeners. You can rent it on Amazon, YouTube, Apple, Google Play. Oh, good Lord. I just saw Julio's score as well. Deary me. Julio. Anyway, that was that.
I think you're going to watch this film and then you're doing an episode with Julio, aren't you? So you can catch up with him in real life about it.
That's right. We can indeed.
We can
take him to task. Exactly. We're at the end of the episode, Adam.
We are. Are we going to read out the patrons, or are we just going to pretend who they know they are? Because
well, I don't know who they are off the top of my head, so I wouldn't like to guess everyone and miss someone out.
It's annoying that they don't keep the chat on Zoom.
I know. So we could just say, thanks for your support, lovely patrons. You know who you are.
Paul just cut like the end of the last episode and put it onto this one.
Yes. And
insert that little slot there. There are lovely patrons. Thank you for supporting us.
Thanks for supporting us. And whatever you're doing today, be careful and watch out for the African rats because you never know who they're inside of.
That just sounds really bad, but that just sounds
mate, can I just clarify something? When I'm saying this,
I know what you're saying, but it doesn't so out of context is incredibly bad.
I know, but they are talking about a literal African
especially when
rat.
we're recording this on the day of the US election. They're probably the world is at highest tensions.
Oh God, yeah, we are as well. Okay, this is your last chance to make a prediction. Trump or Harris, who's getting in?
I mean, I don't want it to happen, but it's going to be Trump, isn't it?
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I think Harris will just get it.
I just can't see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
I would love it to happen, but I'm just feeling that, yeah.
Well, for those who are listening to our episodes back to back in the future, jump to the Brotherhood of the Wolf episode now, where me and Paul will be reflecting on the US election outcome.
Or we won't, because we're in England and don't give a shit about American politics that much.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, we have no choice but to, because they fucking control the world.
Yes.
I was talking about this in the office the other day. It's one of the few countries where they can't say, stay out of our business. It's like, you make your business the world's fucking business. Mm-hmm. So we do have a fucking interest and we should have a fucking say in it because you control our lives.
It's not like it's like we should technically give more of a shit about what France or Germany do as elections because part of the EU, part of Europe has much more of a consequence on us. But America is America and America will be America.
America will be America, but it could be worse. We could be in Argentina right now, around the swamp with broken glass and red wine and dogs with many rows of teeth and much incest and
we'll be
cows.
like, what the hell's happening here? We're all very bored.
We are. So, adios then.
Peace and loves.
Thanks all. Enjoy your holidays, Adam, and happy birthday.
Keep it going for all of us. I'll see you on the flip side. I'm hoping to watch many new films on the plane, so I'm hoping.
I should hope so. Where are you going? Tell the listeners.
I'm going to Sri Lanka, so I've got 2 12-hour flights to fill with films, hopefully. I'll probably sleep on one of them, though, because one of them's I need to sleep on because we take off at 9 p.m, so I kind of need to have my sleep on that one.
Wow. Very exciting. Well, happy travels, Adam, and
Goodbye.
we'll see you.
Peace
We'll
and
see
love.
Adam in a few weeks' time. But me
many
and Paul will
guests
be here.
between me coming back.
Very many special guests. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Fieldbusters.